In this lecture, we will learn about the shell sort and how to implement it in Python. The shell sort algorithm is a variation of the insertion sort algorithm that we learned about earlier. The difference is that the shell sort allows the exchange of far items. Let's look at an example so that we understand the concept of a shell sort. We start out with a collection of 8 elements in the following order: 9, 8, 3, 7, 5, 6, 4, and 1. On the first iteration, the gap is equal to the length of the list divided by 2, so the gap is 4. 5 is less than 9, so the 2 elements are swapped. 6 is less than 8, so the 2 elements are swapped. 1 is less than 7, so they are swapped. On the second iteration, the gap is cut in half, so the gap is now 2. 3 is less than 5, so we swap these 2 elements. 1 is less than 6, so we swap these 2 elements. 4 is less than 9, so we swap the 9 and the 4. 7 is less than 8, so the 2 elements are swapped. The 4 is less than 5, so we swap those 2 elements. On the third iteration, the gap is divided by 2 again. This makes the gap 1. 1 is less than 3, so the 2 elements are swapped. The 5 is less than 6, so the 2 elements are swapped. The 7 is less than the 9, so those 2 elements are swapped. The next and final step is to swap the 8 and the 7. Now the collection is in order. Time to implement our shell sort using Python code. We will start out using Python's def keyword and name our function shell sort. It will take in one parameter, elements, the list of items we are sorting. Inside of this function, we will have a length variable set equal to the length of our elements list. We will also have a gap variable set equal to length divided by 2. Then we will have a while loop that will execute while gap is greater than 0. Inside of the while loop, we will need a for loop that will iterate for I in range starting at gap and ending at length. Inside of this for loop, we will have a variable named temp, which we will set equal to elements at index I. Then we will have a variable named j, set equal to I. Next, we will have a while loop nested inside of the for loop that executes while j is greater than or equal to gap, and elements at index j minus gap is greater than temp. Inside of the while loop, we will set elements at index j equal to elements at index j minus gap. Then we will subtract gap from j using the minus equals operator so that the value is both subtracted from j and assigned to j all in one. Then, outside of the while loop, we will set elements at j equal to temp. Then outside of the for loop, we will divide gap by 2 and assign it to that value using integer division and assignment. Outside of the outer while loop, we will return elements. That wraps up our shell sort function. Now it is time to test our code. We will print out the result of a call to our shell sort function and pass in a list with the elements 9, 1, 0, 2, and 5. When we run the code, you will notice that our shell sort function sorted all of the items in the list. In the next lecture, we will look at a recap of what we learned in this section of the course.